I'm Sylvia from the Queensland Minerals and Energy Academy, and today we're going to be talking to Charlese Conolly, who's a graduate metallurgist with Evolution Mining. Charlese works at the Mount Rawdon operations, and she's going to be talking to us about how chemistry and chemical processes are used in the extraction of metals.
Hi guys, my name is Charlese. I am the graduate metallurgist at Evolution Mining's Mount Rawdon operations. And I'm just here today to tell you a bit about metallurgy. So what does a metallurgist do? It's a bit of a hard one to answer, and usually I get blank faces when I try to explain it to people. But we should look back at what does a chemical engineer do. So a chemical engineer typically studies, develops and optimizes physical and chemical processes to extract something from a raw material. So you're taking a raw material and getting a product. Now, a metallurgist or metallurgical engineer is the exact same thing, except we're focusing on extracting minerals from ores. So in Australia, those minerals typically include gold, silver, copper, nickel, lead, iron ore, coal, bauxite and uranium. And the way we do that is by putting the ores through a mineral processing plant. So there's a picture here of our Krakow processing plant. As you can see, there's a lot of equipment going on there. And the way we display that equipment is on a process flow sheet. So on the picture here, you can see the process flow sheet for where I'm working at Mount Rawdon. So each of those colourful pictures there is a piece of equipment that we used, whether it be a mill. The yellow ones there are our leaching tanks. And you can see that we've got the trucks at the start, putting in our ore, and coming out at the bottom is our gold bullion. I first, of course, did chemical engineering and then metallurgical engineering after that. And the basis of both those things is that you've got logic and science underpinning most of your work. So all your projects that you're doing, you get the data for that and you process it and you're able to make decisions based on data as opposed to people's opinions or something different. Then there's also the teamwork and project work. I'm doing a lot of the projects at this moment, I'm driving them myself, but to get them done, I have to work with a wide range of people, whether they be operators up in the plant or my managers. So that always makes it much more interesting. Career growth was one of the main ones. Doing engineering, you have a pretty good path to becoming a manager. A lot of managers in big companies are engineers. So if that's something I want to do one day, I can do that. However, if I want to just stick in metallurgy, I start as a graduate met, you become a plant met, senior met, and then a superintendent. So there's plenty of options to grow my career and go up the ladder, as they say. And then job location. I like to work on site. I love working on site and I like working rurally, not in a big city. So doing metallurgy gives me a chance to do that by working on site. However, if I did want to work in a city, in an office, you can do that as well by working for a consultancy. And then job variety. Not one day is the same. There's various projects going on, so there's always something new to do, whether it be day-to-day jobs or more long-term projects. So I'm never feeling tired at my desk, that's for sure. So I decided to do chemical engineering when I was in year 9. I was pretty early on that one. I just read about it in a book and I thought, oh, that's a job that'll give me plenty of options when I graduate and seems like I'll get paid well for that. So I chose that, and then in year 11, I read about metallurgy at UQ and I thought, oh, well, I like rocks. I don't like biology, so that'll be perfect. So to be able to get into engineering at UQ, I made sure to do my prerequisite subjects. So that was chemistry, physics, math B and math C. However, if you miss out on doing one of them, they have catch-up courses at uni for it, and it doesn't take your uni degree any longer to do by doing that. So if you're wanting to not do physics and do music instead, perfectly fine. Then I got into UQ. At the moment, the entry threshold is an OP8 or an ATAR 86 or above to get in. And then the degree is 4 years. So I did my degree in Bachelor of Chemical and Metallurgical Engineering. But if you're looking at chemical engineering, you've got other options. You can do chemical and materials, chemical and biological, various other ones, and different types of engineering as well. If you're not wanting to go to UQ, they also offer chemical engineering at JCU up in Cairns and Townsville, and of course other unis across the country. And if you're wanting to do metallurgy, you can look at doing it at UQ, or some degrees are done over in WA. Then during your degree, you have to do a minimum of 60 days of vacation work. I did a bit more than that, but first I did a job at Hatch Consultancy in the city, working in their mining and minerals processing team. And then I got my first on-site gig over summer at Evolution's Krakow gold mine. So that was a FIFO role. So I still got to spend half of my holidays at home whilst earning money for the other half of the time. And Queensland Alumina, I worked there for 8 months up in Gladstone doing some projects up there. And the good thing about engineering vac work, as I said, you get paid for it, which is a great way to make some money over the summer. Then once you graduate, usually enter a graduation program that run for about 2 years. So I'm with Evolution Mining. This year I'm at the Mount Rawdon operations, and then next year I'm hoping to go up to Mount Carlton, which is in Townsville. So I work an 8-6 roster, so 8 days on, 6 days off. Mount Rawdon, we have various rosters going on, and it was more what I wanted to do. So because I live down in Tweed Heads, I want to be able to go home for a decent amount of time, so I travel home on my 6 days off. However, during my 8 days here, I have my accommodation provided for me. You either stay in a share house with someone else or in your own little cabin. You do have to cook your own food. It's not too much of a problem. I work 11-hour days from 6 to 5. So it is a bit tough getting used to getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to get to work by 6, but you soon get used to it. And then if you're working a different roster, you might be working 10-hour days. Some of the guys work 12-hour days, which is pretty typical for the mining industry. So I thought for this, I'd show you guys some photos. First part of the job that I love the most is the people. So as I said before, I love teamwork, and I've got a nice photo here of all of the people here at Mount Rawdon holding up the Melbourne Cup, which we made a few years ago. The gold from our mine was used to make the Melbourne Cup. But a lot of the guys here I get to work with day to day, and working on site, it's such a family environment. Everyone's so helpful, welcoming. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you just wanted to have a chat with someone, you're completely welcome to. So yeah, the people is the main one. Second is being able to see my projects actually deliver results. Now, I've been only working as a graduate metallurgist for about 6 months now, but in that time, I've already been able to see projects that I've been working on and getting the data for and making big decisions about be implemented in the plant, which is improving either the operation, so saving money, or improving how safe the process is, which is really good to see. And third is getting to experience everything from the mine to the mill. So some of the other photos I've got here is when I went down to the underground mine at Krakow and got to see where the ore comes from in the first place. I got to sit in a drill rig, which was pretty cool. Or some days I've gone out to get some samples, so I've got to see some beautiful views out the back of the lease, to be able to see if there's any extra gold there and see where the surveying part of the process start. And then when you're actually looking at the mill, you're able to see your ore come in, be crushed up and then put through our mills. So in the middle here, I've got 2 pictures of our mills. The bottom is our SAG mill. So that's when they're relining it. You get to climb in there, which is pretty cool. And then up the top is our ball mill, which I got to climb into when we were looking at it. And then finally, being at a gold mine, our final product is gold. So I get to do gold pours once a week, go out and see the beautiful gold bars. And the one I'm holding there is worth about $800,000. So it's pretty cool to be able to hold that in your hand. So there's a few reactions that are happening to try and get the gold out of the rock and to produce those nice gold bars that you saw earlier. The 2 key ones we have is our leaching and electrowinning reactions. So the leaching reaction is a replacement reaction, and we have our solid gold coming in. Now the gold's not, you can't see it in the ore, it's all finely broken up and stuck inside the ore. So we have to be able to take it out of that rock. So we do that by putting it in big leaching tanks which are full of water, and we slurry them up and we add cyanide as an aqueous solution, and then we pump oxygen in, which bubbles up the top. And what happens is that reacts to draw the gold and dissolve it, putting it into solution, and then it combines with the cyanide to create a gold cyanide complex and also sodium hydroxide. So to keep the process going, we have to keep the pH of the leaching tanks at about 10.2, which is quite high. And that way we're making sure that no other unwanted side reactions are happening. So you've now got your gold in solution and in those cyanide complexes. And we want to be able to now take it out again and make it ready to make the solid gold bars. So we do that through electrowinning. Now, electrowinning involves redox reactions. So we have big cells with cathode, anode, cathode, anode, cathode, anode, which they're big metal plates. And then we put electricity through them, and that initiates the reaction. At the cathode, we have our reduction reaction, where those gold cyanide complexes, they gain electrons, and then that causes the gold to come out as a solid and plate onto the cathode. Then we have our anodes, where oxidation's happening. Water is oxidized into hydrogen gas and some hydrogen ions, and they release those electrons that are used for the reduction reaction. In our ore, we have gold, but we also typically will have copper and silver. Now, silver, copper, and gold are all transition metals, and they sit within the same group of the periodic table as shown in the picture there, which means they will have similar properties when they're reacting. However, in those leaching and electrowinning reactions I showed earlier, the copper and silver will always react before the gold, and that's due to their position in the reactivity series. So you've definitely got gold, which is a very noble metal that will typically be very hard to react. And silver's a bit easier, and then copper's much easier. And this can impact our recovery and make the process unprofitable. So say if we had ore and it had a lot of copper in it, what would happen is that would consume all our cyanide, and we'd have to add a lot more to eventually get the gold out. And the reason that this is because gold has a very different electron configuration compared to copper. Now, chemical bonds, as you would know, are formed when the electron from one atom's orbital are exchanged with another. And the more reactive a metal is, it means it has a greater tendency to lose its electrons. Now, the copper atom can easily lose its outer valence electron. As shown in the picture here, I've got a gold atom and a copper atom, and that highlighted valence electron on the copper will easily be detached when it's reacting with something. However, when you're looking at the gold, it has a lot more electron shells surrounding the nucleus. And what happens is these electron shells, they create a shield around the gold's little valence electron. And that means that the valence electron's really tightly bound to the gold's nucleus, and it can't be detached easily to react with something else. If you're listening to this and you think, oh, metallurgical engineering is my thing, engineering isn't my thing, but you like the idea of working on site or working in the mining sector, there is so many more opportunities for you. If you like the idea of working in a plant and you like the idea of metallurgy but don't want to do metallurgical engineering, there's jobs as METTechs, metallurgical technicians. They don't require an engineering degree, they typically require a science degree or an associate degree. And that way you're working in the same teams, but your job description is just a little bit different. If the science side of it isn't your cup of tea at all, you might want to work as an operator. You know, to be an operator, you don't need a set qualification. You just need to have a good head on your shoulders, be able to do teamwork and solve, troubleshoot issues in the plant. And I spend most of my days working with the operators on my projects, and they're always wonderful people to work with. Then again, if you're thinking of doing a trade, on site we have fitters, electricians, boilermakers, mechanics. So there's various roles there. So you can do a trade and then also get a job in the mining industry. And that's just looking at the plant alone. We also have over in the mining, the actual mining part of the operation, you can work as a truck driver, digger operators, in blasting and various other fields like that. So it's not just metallurgy, there's a lot more going on around here.
It was really interesting to hear how the reactivity of metals really impacts how profitable the extraction process is. Thank you also for talking about all the different opportunities available in the resources sector.